Welcome back once again to the Imaginary Gallery. It is TJ, your host. We are now on the last part of the Sex and the Abusive Person section, referenced from Lundy Bancroft's book, Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men. This section is called Sexual Assault is Violence. Now, over the years, Bancroft says he occasionally has had clients who just do not punch, they don't slap, they do not physically hurt their partners, but have repeatedly forced them to have sex through threats, physical force, intimidation, and sometimes even holding the partner down. The partner of this style of abusive person many times will say,
"He was never violent to me,"
despite describing a degrading and debilitating history of coerced or forced sex. Sexual assault is violence. An abusive person who forces the partner to have any kind of sexual relations against her will is physically battering her. There is a societal tendency not to recognize the violence present in a sexual assault, which can make it more difficult for the lady to understand her own reactions and or to reach out for help. If you feel like you've been sexually violated by your abusive partner, trust your own perceptions and call an abuse or rape hotline. Repeated studies have demonstrated that men who embrace certain key myths about rape are more likely to carry out a sexual assault. The misconceptions include the belief that ladies find rape to be arousing, that they provoke sexual assault with their style of clothing, their short skirt, or their behavior, and that rapists lose control of themselves. These myths are easy for many abusive men to accept because they're consistent with the other characteristics of an abusive outlook on the female partners involved. It's not surprising, then, that the risk to an abused lady of being sexually assaulted by a partner is high. Bancroft has also had clients who use sexual assault in order to punish the partner, sometimes because of anger directly related to sex, and sometimes not, including some who have raped their ex-partners for leaving them. The impact of such assault can be devastating. Next, he tells us that sexuality is a central arena in which the abusive person's relationship to power is played out, including power over the partner's reproductive process. Although he may appear to keep his abusiveness separate from the sex life, closer examination of the dynamics of his conduct may persuade you that he carries his core attitude problems right into the bedroom with him. The subtle undercurrent of sexualization of subordination can take some time to identify. It is rare, unfortunately, for any aspect of an abusive person's relationship with its partner to remain untouched by his entitlement and disrespect. Next, he gives us some key points to remember. The abusive person many times believes that the ultimate decision-making authority regarding the sex rests with him and him alone. He may see his partner as a possession, an object. Sex with an abuser can be especially good, but it can also be a horror show. The two extremes usually result from similar attitudes in the abusive person's mindset regarding S.E.X. The majority of abusive people sexualize power, including some who find violence to be sexually exciting. Since sexuality is an area of particular vulnerability for most ladies, an abusive person may use any of your sensitivities against you. If you feel uncomfortable about sexual interactions with your partner, listen very carefully to your inner voice, your gut instinct, as to what's good for you. An abusive man will try to tell you that your discomfort is your own problem, rather than a product of his coercive, disrespectful, or humiliating sexual behavior. And lastly, ladies and men can heal from injurious sexual experiences, but healing is not likely to happen while abuse continues in the present. Attaining an abuse-free life is thus the first step to sexual wellness.
I am the Narcopath.
And you invited me over again for dinner and movie and the slow way we used to do things. I just acted depressed and sad because, I can't believe I treated you so terribly for you to leave me. That didn't take long for you to fall right back in like we were. Once I knew, heard you murmur all those lovey-dovey things that I copy right down and use to other people to recite the fact that I'm not a human being, so I pretend to be, and you were saying all that romantic crap to me, what did I do? As soon as I felt you were hooked into me as much as possible, I left you. All's fair in lust and war. After all, you dumped me first, so I had to pay you back. That's what I'm all about, revenge. So I pretended all those dates to be in love with you still, and to care about you still. And I knew the end game was to dump you so you could feel how humiliating it felt when you dumped me. Well, I dumped you, so there. Revenge. That's my middle name.
Oh, yes, all those times we used to go out to the nightclubs or the restaurants or the jazz clubs because I'm classy. You always complained because I'd find some female friends of mine at the venue and I would just vanish for hours is what you used to say. I don't think it was hours, but I wasn't keeping track. Truth was, I'm a popular gal. I was servicing each one of these chicks. Plus, word got out I was around, and more came around. Pun intended, they all came around, if you know what I mean.
I had to satisfy my public, so I just told you we were talking. I made up stories about how her husband's cheating and her child's retarded and so on. In fact, what I didn't think you needed to know, because I was having fun. You were simply a vehicle to give me credibility in the real world.
I needed to appear legitimate.
For my family and for the public at large. It was the perfect cover-up. You wouldn't understand.
Well, it didn't take me very long to realize that I was the first transgendered lesbian that you'd ever dated.
Even though you were a man, it turned you on to think of me with other women. Well, how do you think I'm going to deal with that? You know those pretty girls that I used to hang out with? You always suspected me of being with each and every one of them, and I told you, oh no, I may be transgendered lesbian, but since I'm dating you, I don't even care about those girls anymore. And you bought it, at least you seemed to. The truth was, I was using you as I was telling them I was straight. I was telling you I was a transgender lesbian, turned you on. So it got me the best of both worlds. And I couldn't tell you any of this. Are you kidding? But it gave me success. Or should I say, suck